Kombat, a fantasy martial arts game that some parents think is just too violent for their kids. Carol Lynn joins us live now from Northridge with more on that story. Carol?
Here it is, Bob, behind me. It's called Mortal Kombat, and we're going to talk to Aaron Brandis here about the game. Aaron, how does it work?
Well, basically you pick a couple characters, you do maneuvers on the joysticks and buttons, you do moves, and
then what are you trying to get to? Fatalities?
Nah, there's a master guy you got to beat at the end. Fatalities are just what happens if you're really brutal to your opponent. You get an opponent, you can rip off his head or something like that.
Sounds like a pretty thrilling game, and this is the kind of violence that critics are pretty worried about. Cold-blooded murder is making Mortal Kombat the most popular video game in history. Kids relish their victory and their bloody choice. Should they pull out their opponent's heart? Or simply rip his head off just to see his spinal cord dangle in a pool of blood? How do you feel about cutting his head off? After a $10 million advertising campaign, Mortal Kombat, debuting in home video today, is expected to sell 2 million copies at $50 a pop. A horrifying possibility for parents who can't believe the game makers are fantasizing about decapitation and murder.
I don't think they'll have this at home, no.
You don't think so?
A little bit too violent.
You look a little startled.
Yeah, it's a little too violent, I think.
That's pretty bad, and that's just plain gross.
Furthermore, advanced technology allows digitized video of real martial arts actors, making the action look real and not as cartoony. In fact, Mortal Kombat so shocked the managers at a nationwide arcade chain that they tried a sanitized version of the game. Instead of chopping the opponent's head off, he simply disappears. Sales dropped 40%.
They came up and said, what'd you do to the game? It's no fun anymore.
Kids are saying chill out to worried parents.
I think TV personally influences more than a video game. A video game is a video game.
The bottom line, parents wonder if kids can separate fantasy from the real thing.
Wait until they get out in a situation where they're fighting, and then they'll think about this and try to make it real.
In 1991, Midway Games tasked Ed Boon and John Tobias with making a fighting game for release within a year to compete against Capcom's Street Fighter II. With John Vogel and Dan Forden joining the project, they made the most controversial, influential, and popular video game franchises of all time. The original idea was to make a fighting game based on martial arts movie star Jean-Claude Van Damme, but he had already signed a deal for a game that never came to be. Back at square one, the team made a new concept to contrast against Street Fighter II. Street Fighter II had cartoony visuals, minimal blood, and unrealistic fights, but the team project would have realistic visuals, be bloody, and have more realistic fights. However, the famous gore and fatalities that the franchise is known for weren't originally planned but were added gradually to separate it from other arcade games. The whole game only took 10 months to develop, and it hit arcades on October 8, 1992. When it hit arcades, it stirred up controversy with parents and even senators. Mortal Kombat and other games like Night Trap stirred up so much controversy that in 1993, a Senate hearing was held about violence in video games. The following is a quote from Senator Joe Lieberman: "Blood splatters from the contestants' heads. When a player wins, the so-called death sequence begins. The game narrator instructs the player to finish, and I quote, finish his opponent. The player may then choose a method of murder ranging from ripping a heart out to pulling off the head of the opponent with spinal cord attached. We're not talking Pac-Man or Space Invaders anymore. We're talking about video games that glorify violence and teach children to enjoy inflicting the most gruesome forms of cruelty imaginable." But the controversy led to popularity and millions for Midway. On September 13, 1993, also known as Mortal Monday, Mortal Kombat released on 4 consoles: Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Sega Genesis, Game Boy, and Game Gear. Due to the violence found in the game, the Super Nintendo version was censored, replacing blood with sweat and altering a few fatalities. But the Genesis version had a code to unlock the blood and the original fatalities. Players could just type in A, B, A, C, A, B, B on the home screen. But all in all, Mortal Kombat changed gaming for all time. It shocked players with its violence, was the topic of Senate hearings, led to the ESRB rating system, started the most popular fighting game franchise of all time with over 80 million copies sold across all platforms, stretched to movies, shows, and even trading cards, and created millions of fans across the world. Not bad for a celebrity reject game.